Hello and welcome back to the Business from A to Easy podcast. I know it's been a little bit, but we're just busy doing our thing in our individual businesses. But today we have another interview, and I'm really excited about today's interview because today's interview is our sponsor. Today we have Jason Spivey with Kaffa Bunn Roastery, and so I'm super excited to talk with Brother Jason Spivey. So here he is. Brother Spivey, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for coming on. It's awesome.
Yes, sir.
I'm excited to talk through your business, but I'm also excited to talk about your business and try to get the word out there. And before we even go on, I want to say thank you for sponsoring us. That
Oh,
was You didn't have to do that, and that was awesome.
no, that was a lot of fun.
So
Yeah, I'm glad to do it.
it's been fun to kind of get your name out there as best we can with our vast audience right now of
Yes, sir.
followers.
Yep.
But the truth is, we just love business. And when I found out a couple years ago that you were in business, or I guess about a year ago, it's piqued my interest, and I've been trying to help out any way that I could
Mm.
ever since. Um, so, why don't you tell us how did Kaffa Bun start? How did it come about?
Well, actually, I had heard about a gentleman who was roasting his own coffee beans, and I didn't know a whole lot about coffee. Folgers, Maxwell House, that was pretty much what we knew. That's what we bought. And when I heard this man had roasted his own coffee beans in his own kitchen, I thought, that's an impossible thing. You can't do that. Little did I know that's absolutely possible.
Hmm.
So once I did a little bit of research and found out some ways, probably the easiest way for us to roast coffee, we started roasting for ourselves. And after I burned a lot of beans and wasted a lot of beans, we finally got a good roast. And once we tried the coffee, we could not imagine even going back to what we were used to. Now,
Hmm.
I realize we're using Folgers and Maxwell House, but still,
Right.
the quality that we had far surpassed anything that we had ever had ourselves, even fancier type coffee. So that's kind of how it started. We heard rumor, we experimented with several things, and then we had our own coffee, and we haven't gone back.
That's awesome. So, where did you get your initial beans?
There are a lot of places online that you can buy the unroasted, or they call them green beans.
Hmm.
We originally were buying from a place I think was in Arizona, and we were completely happy with what they had, but we did realize too that they didn't have a lot of variety. And so we did a little more shopping online, found a place in Mississippi that we currently buy from, and they have hundreds of different coffees from all over the world. And so we are constantly buying coffee from them, trying new samples, and seeing what we like, seeing what's maybe a good roast that maybe we'll add to our inventory already. So currently we buy from someone in Mississippi.
Oh, that's cool. So, are there any? I know when you're talking about coffee beans, and we'll get into this here in a little bit. You're talking about really worldwide, and different
Mm-hmm.
areas have different flavors. Do
Mm-hmm.
does Are there any beans that are known or grown specifically in the United States that have their own unique flavor?
Mm-hmm. I think the only place in the United States that actually grows coffee is in Hawaii.
Okay.
So we've never had the. I think the Kona is usually what they call that, Kona coffee.
Hmm.
We've never had that kind. It's kind of expensive.
Okay.
So
I guess to export it from the islands over there, but I mean it's just not big. The islands are not big over there, so it's not
right,
another country. So I'm sure that's
right,
probably part of it. So
yeah.
so the idea of starting roasting your own coffee was what started it. What was the conversation like with your wife? Was she in it on it the whole way, or was she just like, "What's this burning smell in my kitchen? What's going on?" How did that work?
Uh-huh. No, she was actually interested. In fact, she's the one who found the first roaster for me to experiment with, and she's been with it the whole way. And she was like me once she tried our perfected roast. Um, she cannot imagine going back to any other coffee.
I've heard that about a lot of stuff. When you do it in house, or if there's something that you can make personally. I've
Hmm.
heard people say that like about their gardens. Like I'll never buy
Hmm.
produce again because my
Hmm.
corn's better than anybody's corn. You know.
Hmm. Right.
Do you think there's something to that when you is that what they refer to as the love that's being put into it, or do you think it's just better?
It could be it could be better in that um, it's freshly roasted.
Mm,
So we don't roast our coffee until someone orders it. So we really have small batch roasting going on. So it's not like your batch is going to get dumped in with about 15, 20 other orders at the same time. We'll
right.
roast yours specifically for you. So I think that's what makes it that much better is because it is freshly roasted. It's not sitting around for weeks or months at a time, just waiting for someone to buy. As soon as someone orders it, we'll roast it the next morning.
That makes sense. That's probably the biggest difference between
I think.
some like a Folgers or something.
Hmm.
Um, they would have to do so much that you
Hmm.
have some stale product. There's no way to get
Right.
around that. That's
Right.
interesting.
Hmm.
So we've kind of gotten to know you over the last couple episodes, so it's kind of cool to have you here for our audience. If they're on YouTube, they get to see you, but even on the podcast, to just hear directly from you. Um, we've mentioned how this is a family business and it's kind
Hmm.
of been a family affair. What's that been like being able to start a business with your kids, and then and but also just being able to do that with your family. So let me say that in a different way, two ways. What's it like starting a business with your family, and then has it been good to teach your kids about business and what that looks like
Hmm.
and what business actually is?
Hmm. Yeah, I think it's been a lot of fun working with family, and I know maybe that's not good for some people,
Yeah.
but my family has worked really well together, and I think for the most part they enjoy it. Now they're not as involved as my wife and I are,
Right.
but I think sometimes to see the finished product and to know that they're part of it, I think that just adds something to someone, so they can see, the coffee's been roasted, now it's been bagged, now it's been boxed, and now they're taking it to the post office or to UPS for shipment. I think that just is kind of an encouragement to them knowing they had part of something like that.
Yeah, that's cool.
Um,
For how so you've got three kids, right? How old
mhm.
are they?
My oldest is 16. I have an 11-year-old and an 8-year-old.
Okay, so um, that's a pretty good spread in age, and so understanding wise, for me, I have a 10-year-old, an 8-year-old, and a 5-year-old, and the 5-year-old came up to me the other day and said he wants to be a window washer when he grows up. And
Uh-huh.
so from his perspective, that's just, well, dad does that, so I want to do that. Um,
Hmm.
but have you experienced that with them, or have they even been able to put together that, hey, this might be a future for me?
Uh-huh. I don't think they put that together yet, the future
Yeah.
part.
Right.
Sometimes, and I think it may even be true with me, when you see work ahead of you, sometimes it's not that exciting, but then when the work is done, looking at the finished product, that's when the excitement comes, at least for me. So I
Right.
think my children may be the same way. Knowing there's work to do, sometimes that's not exciting, but when you finally finish and accomplish that task, and now someone's going to get to sample or try your product, and that's the exciting part.
Yeah, it's fulfilling. It
Yes.
there's a well, we talk about it. I'm not a drug user. I've never been a drug user, but to me, there's a high that I get from
Yes.
winning or from business, and
Uh huh.
it's
Mm-hmm.
addicting. It's fun,
Mm-hmm.
and it makes you
Mm-hmm.
want to get the next one. So I assume that's
Right.
what it's like.
Yes.
But
I would think
um,
so.
so from your perspective as a parent starting this business, is that in your mind as something that you can pass on to them and give to them even
Mm-hmm.
after you're gone?
Yeah, I think our dream was, after we got the business started, that this would be something that our children could carry on after, uh, either we got old enough we didn't want to have the business, or we couldn't have the business, or we pass off the scene. This is
Right. Looks like I lost you. Oh, I lost you for just a second.
oh
So you were just saying that uh, whether you guys were finished wanting to be done with the business or passed off the scene, and that's where we
yep,
lost you there.
yeah. Then that's something I know they could pick up where we leave off, and
Right.
I don't know if that's what the Lord will have for them, but
Right. Looks like I lost you again there. Um, it says you got good service. That's interesting.
am I still
Oh,
there?
you're still here for now.
Okay.
All right. Well, that was one thing about business for me. It wasn't something I thought of initially, but then it
Mhm.
became something that I realized whether they want to have a part in it or not, this is going to impact their future.
Right. Yep.
Whether they want to get their hands dirty in the business or not. So
Hmm.
that was kind of a hidden blessing for me to say, okay, I've got a business now, and this business is going to support them in their future. Whether I sell it, if they don't have
Hmm.
any desire, and then have some funds there for them,
Hmm.
or if they're interested to just grab the torch and make it better.
Right.
That's pretty neat. Do they have specific
Yeah.
jobs that they do whenever y'all roast?
Usually, yeah, they have specific jobs. Sometimes Samuel will help me roast, and Seth will he'll actually bag the coffee, and then Jenna will label the coffee. So she puts the
That's cool.
stickers on the bags. Hmm.
That's awesome. So from start to finish, it really is touching everybody's hands. That's pretty
Hmm.
awesome.
Yep.
Not a lot of people get to do something like that. So that's a pretty unique
No.
opportunity for you guys.
Yep.
Is it going back to the roasting? When you roast, is there a specific machine, or do you just do that on a stovetop? Or, I mean, not to give away any
Hmm.
proprietary, secrets here for the business, but
Right.
I'm sure there's different levels or ways to do that.
Yeah. People roast all different kinds of ways. Um, it was kind of on accident that we actually started. They call it air roasting or
Hmm.
fluid bed roasting, meaning like there's an open top, and the gases and the chaff can all come out, so it's not roasting with the beans. So that's the way we accidentally started, not knowing there's different ways of roasting.
Hmm.
Drum roasting is another way. Anyway, we started off um, air roasting, and like I said, when we first started, we were just roasting for ourselves. We didn't want to invest a lot of money in equipment, not even knowing if this is something we really wanted to do. So, to tell you the truth, my wife looked on Marketplace and she found a used popcorn popper,
That's awesome.
and that's what we started with. Um,
Wow.
Now, as business grew, um, it was hard to keep up with just using popcorn poppers
Right.
because you can't roast a whole lot. So there's actually a man in North Carolina named Larry Cotton.
Hmm.
Larry Cotton's his name. So I found him online because I was looking for something bigger that would still roast the same way we've been roasting, so we don't lose our our the taste we get from our beans.
Right.
And he is an older man, but he's an inventor, and he had invented this machine he called the wobble disc, I think is what he called it.
Hmm.
Anyway, so I found him online, and using that machine, I could roast about 2 or 3 times as much as what I had been roasting. And I asked him if he would sell me the plans or make a machine for me and ship it to me, and he told me straight up, nope, he's not going to do that. He said he would send me the instructions and I could build it myself free of charge.
Wow.
So I don't know that he knows how much of a blessing he's really been to our family. So as of right now, I'm using 3 popcorn poppers and 2 of those bigger roasters that I got the instructions from Larry Cotton. So
Wow.
that's how we're roasting right now.
That's cool. So you found somebody and he just gave it to you, essentially gave it to you, the way to do
He
that.
really did.
That's
Yes,
amazing.
yes. And I
Wow.
offered to pay for it, and he turned me down. So such a kind,
Wow.
giving man. The
Right.
only thing he said he wanted was notoriety, maybe. He
Okay.
wanted me to spread his name around. So
Yeah.
anyway, that's what I'm doing
Here we
right
are.
now, spreading Larry Cotton's
Uh,
name.
well, it's funny when you said that. I almost said, "Oh boy, do we have to find this guy and get permission?" But you already have it, so that's
Yes, yeah,
awesome.
he wanted me to do that. Uh huh.
That's really cool. So, I would, I mean, at least kind of try to leverage a subscription to coffee for the rest of my life, or something. Just
Yes, I
say, just
mean
send me
he
some
probably
beans
roasts
every once
himself,
in a
but
while. Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
yeah.
Now we're having
We
the same
tried
conversation.
we actually tried drum roasting, and because we knew we were going to need to start something that would give us more yield in our roast, and we could never make drum roasting taste like our air roasters made it taste. Now, so we don't add anything to our coffee.
Okay.
The beans are, I mean, they're naturally flavored, if you want to call it that.
Yeah.
So the region they come from and the altitude that they're grown in, that's where all, and the roasting process, that how dark or light we roast it, that's what gives the bean its flavor.
That was one of my questions I was going to ask, and it's pretty interesting. You, I didn't think about it. If you already have a product that people enjoy and that you enjoy and that you want to get out there, if you change your
Hmm.
equipment, it could change your flavor, which changes the identity really of the business,
Right.
or the
Yep.
integrity of the product. So that's
Sure.
fascinating.
Yep.
Having something that's going out, you want it to be the same
Hmm.
every time. Has that been challenging to
Hmm.
keep it the same every time?
Not with the roasters we've had. Now, when we experimented with the drum roaster, yeah, that was really difficult.
Right.
So we actually never sold any of those beans because we could never get it the same way we wanted it to be.
What was the
So we actually
difference in
sold the drum
taste?
roaster back to them. Um, so whenever you get a bag of our beans, before you even open it up, you can smell that there's
Hmm.
something different about them. And of course, when you actually open the bag, then that aroma just hits you right in the face. It's pretty powerful. And we didn't get that with the drum roast.
Hmm.
So usually you finish the roast and you let it sit or rest for a little while, and then you put your nose up to it and you can smell just the amazing flavors that are coming from the bean.
Right.
But with drum roasting, we never got that. When we actually ground and drank the beans, they just didn't have the same flavor. I don't even know it as maybe a dull
Right.
taste is what
Not
we
as
we would get.
intense. Hmm.
Yeah.
That's cool. So,
So I
um,
I don't
go ahead.
I don't know if that's because all the gases are being roasted in with the beans, so you're getting some of that same taste. The chaff stays in the same compartment as your drum roasting, so I don't know if that's part of it too.
Hmm.
But
That's
I'm just
fascinating.
guessing that's what made the difference.
But there was a clear difference in doing it
Oh
that
yes,
way. Yeah.
yep.
So when you were talking about smelling it coming out of the bag.
Uh-huh.
Have you noticed your? I guess it wouldn't be your palate that's refined, but your sniffer that's refined to where you can kind of smell the difference between country or between region, or can you?
Hmm.
You see stuff and you see it like with wine or something like that, where there's
Hmm.
hints of uh, oak bark or something dumb.
Right.
Obviously, I have no idea
Uh-huh.
what I'm talking about. But when you smell those beans, can you smell the
Mhm.
subtle differences?
Oh, yes. Yeah, there's different. I may can tell more of a difference when I'm actually roasting.
Okay,
The gases that are coming out, the smells that are coming out as the beans being caramelized. I can smell probably more of a difference there than I can after it's already roasted.
huh? So have you noticed one country over another that just, man, this one smells so amazing?
Usually our fruity uh, beans are more
Okay,
they smell more amazing. So those from Africa are probably that way. Ethiopia, Yemen, although I guess Yemen's not in Africa, but it's pretty close.
right there, yeah.
So beans like that.
So, what all countries do you all get beans from?
Oh boy, I think we have about 16 or 17 different beans we have right now.
Oh wow,
Um, and now some of those are blends, so it could be a couple different blends from Indonesia, or we do have a blend of Ethiopia and Yemen. So some of that 16 or 17 are blends, but I know we've got Costa Rica, we have Brazil, we have Mexico, we have Ethiopia, we actually have a Yemen, um, we have an Indian. Uh,
hmm.
and there may be a few more. I can't think of them off the top of my head. We did have a Peru and a Rwanda.
Wow.
Um,
So
yeah,
it's a global business here that you're
it
pulling
really is.
products from all over the world.
Hmm.
That's
Yep.
amazing. See, in my business, it's a service business, so we're pretty much here.
Hmm.
I don't know where Dawn dish soap comes from, but that's about as global as it gets.
Yeah.
um, you
Yes.
know, so to think of how many hands have touched your product is pretty awesome to see the
Yep.
influence. And every time you buy it, it's affecting somebody's job in another country. That's pretty amazing.
Right. Yep.
Um, have you um, have you um, oh man, I lost my train of thought. It was a great question too. It was great for me because I was very curious about it. Um, oh goodness, man, that's frustrating. Hopefully it'll come back to me. Um, so when you're pulling beans from these other countries, you're not having to contact the other countries. That's through that supplier in Mississippi. Is that right?
Right. That's correct.
Okay. So they're the ones out there doing that. Do they own the fields, or is that how does that work?
Hmm. I don't think the supplier we buy from owns any coffee plantations.
Okay,
They buy straight from the farmer.
gotcha.
So and sometimes the places they buy from, they are just a small family coffee company. So it's not even necessarily, a huge industrial place in this country they're buying from. Could just be a small guy, has his own acreage in his backyard.
Wow, that's really cool.
Hmm.
I remember what it
Hmm.
was. We talked last week about cashews and
Oh,
the
yes.
difficult process of getting a single cashew. Um,
Hmm.
can you walk us through? I know there's a lot of people who love coffee, but I don't know how many people actually know um, what coffee, how we get it. Where does it come
Hmm.
from? What does that look like? How does it work?
Hmm. Yeah. So from the time a coffee seed is planted and it starts growing into a tree before the first harvest of cherries are ready to be used, it's about 3 years. So it's kind
Wow.
of a labor intensive, time intensive process. So the tree grows and it produces a fruit. They call it a cherry. And basically, once harvest comes, they'll pick those cherries once they're ripe, and then they'll put these cherries into a drying process. And there are different ways to dry. Some are maybe more natural, some maybe mechanical, where they put them into a drying room, things like that. But then they have a process that after they're dried, a washing process to get the pulp off of the seed, the cherry seed, and there are different ways for them to wash these beans. Some totally will take all of that the cherry off. Some leave a little bit on. So depending on whatever kind of washing process you get, sometimes that will even affect the way the coffee will taste after roasting.
Hmm.
But then after it's dried, then they there's a specific humidity they have to dry it out at, so it won't mold as it's being shipped or being weighted and processed to be roasted. So it's pretty intensive, and I know I went through that really fast, but there's a lot of steps to go through before we actually get to take a drink of our coffee.
So, okay, so those beans get imported, let's say to
Hmm.
Mississippi, and then you get a
Hmm.
hold of them. They're
Hmm.
still green at that point, right? So they've been dried
Right.
out. Do you
Hmm.
have any type of, do you ever run into any type of like, sometimes you'll run into like uh, some kind of worm or something or insects or
Hmm.
anything like that, just
Hmm.
because of the fleshy cherry, I guess, being left
Hmm.
on there. Do you run into anything like that?
No, we never have. And to tell you the truth, if there's a part of the cherry that's still on, it's so dry and thin you probably wouldn't even notice it. It would just
I
make the
see.
bean maybe look a little different color, maybe a little darker.
So it's not like
Now,
fleshy still when you get
no,
it.
no,
It's pretty dry.
mm-mm. Yeah, it's maybe more like a peanut.
Okay,
When we get it, it's just dry like that.
gotcha. What color are
Hmm.
they? Are they white?
Um, Sometimes they can be different colors. Um, for the most part, they're kind of a greenish gray.
Okay.
Some could be a little bit darker, of a gray. Some may be a little bit lighter, depending on sometimes the roast or the washing process or even the origin of the bean. But usually they're kind of a greenish gray color.
Okay.
They
And
smell
then
earthy, kind of grassy.
okay, so not nutty or anything like that, more grassy.
Mm-mm. Mm-hmm.
Huh, that's interesting. I wouldn't have
Mm-hmm.
guessed that because it's interesting to me that they're beans and not, it wouldn't be called a nut, especially growing on a
Yeah,
tree.
right. Yeah, I don't know why.
Had, yeah, I
I'm
was
not
gonna say, how
sure.
do you think that came about? That's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I guess it looks like a bean. Well, honestly, it probably looks more like a peanut, doesn't it?
I think it does. Yeah, because
That's
it's
interesting.
usually. I mean, it's not as smooth on the haft part like a peanut would be.
Right.
Um,
Huh.
but
So you
yeah.
get those in and then they just go straight in the roaster. Do you do any type of pre rinse or anything like that?
Mm-mm.
That's
Nope.
cool.
Straight in the roaster.
Huh. That's awesome. And then the aroma
Yeah.
fills your house. I bet your house smells amazing.
Well, actually, so the roasting isn't done inside because there's so much of gases that come out when you're roasting, and
Okay.
chaff is blowing everywhere. So right now, I know this sounds like a lot of small businesses, but we are roasting in our garage.
No, that's
Um,
awesome. That's
we
awesome.
have a detached garage, and we're building a roasting room. So I have the studs and everything up, ready to put sheetrock in, and ready to put the electrical things in. As soon as money's here, then we'll finish
Right.
that off. But right now, there's a special room in our garage we're roasting in.
That's cool.
So yeah, it smells really good out there.
So does it waft through the neighborhood and the neighbors are all, they're just craving coffee all the
Uh,
time?
well,
That's
there
awesome.
was one time our postman walked up to the front porch, and I happened to be out there, and he saw what I was doing, and he had smelled the coffee being roasting from his truck, which is a couple blocks away.
Wow.
or a couple of houses away, so it wasn't too far, but he could
Yeah,
still smell it from outside.
that's cool.
Hmm.
So normally this is a point where we would break for a sponsor, and that's you. So we'll break for our sponsor. I'll go ahead and play the video just because it's fun to play it. Let's see if it'll play.
Okay.
Um, Actually, I'm not going to because I pushed the wrong button. So, but we'll just go right into it. Obviously, you've been sponsoring us for all of these episodes. I want to thank you and Miss Rachel again for that because that has been amazing. It's been really fun
Hmm.
to have somebody. Podcast is they start all the time, and sometimes they fizzle out or whatever. But to have a sponsor right off the bat was pretty special for us. So we
Yeah.
wanted to thank you for that.
Oh.
But in sponsoring, I don't know if we've done that great of a job of getting your products out there. So, what kind of products do you want to plug here, or flavors, or anything that we haven't been doing that good of a job? You want to clear up or clarify?
Oh.
What kind of products do y'all have?
Um, let's see. So, new coffees we have. I think I mentioned it just a minute ago. We have a Costa Rican that's brand new. That is a really good coffee.
Okay.
If you haven't tried it yet, I would suggest trying that one. Really
Mm.
good. Let's see. Usually
Is
we'll
that what it's
have
called?
Costa Rica. Hmm.
Okay.
Yep. We have a fall blend that's out now. We call it Talamina Drive. Usually, any of the blends. I don't think all of them, but most of the blends we have, we try to name something Oklahoma because that's where we are. So
Right.
we have Talamina Drive. That's our fall blend. Now, don't let it scare you. It's one of my favorite ones. But when you look at the tasting notes, one of the main ones is green apple, and I have a
Mm.
feeling if someone looks at green apple and they're thinking, I don't know if I really want green apple in my coffee, you should try it because it is amazing. And it's not like it's a strong green apple, just kind of a
Right.
hint, but that's really good. During Christmas time, we'll have a couple other seasonals that we'll have Winter Energy, which actually has three different kinds of coffee beans in there. Most of the coffee that you drink is the Arabica. That's how most people pronounce it, Arabica coffee. This has Arabica and it has another different kind of bean called a Robusta bean. So that one is more caffeinated than the Arabica bean. So we've mixed all three of those together,
Okay.
and that's where you get the extra caffeine from. I try to do that a little bit of a lighter roast. You'll get more caffeine punch there. And then we also have a Christmas blend that'll be coming up pretty soon called Holly Jolly. So that's pretty
Okay.
fun. It's a good one.
Is there now when you've got all these different flavors and things like that? Is that something that you have to add to the roasting process, or does it come with a mixture of
Nope.
beans?
Yeah. So the flavor you're tasting is actually it's grown into the beans. So a lot
Mm.
of times when the beans are grown around a certain crop, they'll take on that attribute. Like you could have one of the farms that our supplier buys from. They have their coffee trees, and then they have orange or citrus, some kind of citrus tree. So
Mm.
those coffee beans will actually take on that citrus
Wow.
attribute. Cross pollination sometimes plays a part in that.
So do they do that on
Elevation will
purpose
play a
then?
part in. Yes. Hmm.
Wow. So they're planning
Yep.
that out then.
Yep.
That's fascinating.
Yeah, they found out what they like and they grow it that way. Elevation plays another part in
Right.
the sweetness of the bean. So the higher the elevation, typically, the more sweet the coffee will be.
Right.
Um,
So
yeah.
there's nobody out there, unfortunately, not growing growing coffee trees by a pumpkin patch for some pumpkin spice coffee out here. Is that
No,
how they get pumpkin spice coffee?
I don't think so.
I don't
That'd
think
be
so.
amazing though.
Oh man, have you all
No,
ever thought
yeah, a lot
about
of
branching
coffees.
out into anything like that?
I know my wife has a
Flavors or
dream
stuff?
to actually. She would like to start sometime like I don't know, maybe like a food truck type of a business
Okay.
where we'll have our coffee. She'd like to have pastries, and then
Right.
we would have specialty coffee. But um, a lot of times people add flavors or syrups or things to their coffee drinks because they don't really want
Right.
to taste the taste of their coffee.
Mm. That
So
kind of defeats the
I,
purpose for you guys.
yeah, it does, but that's what people like.
Right.
So I don't know. Maybe someday we'll do something like that.
I feel like it would be crazy to get into um, like creamer. I can't even imagine what that game would be like.
I don't know.
To try to get into that. Yeah,
Hmm.
that'd be nuts.
Yep.
So for you, what's the best way to get the flavors out of your coffee? So we know about the is it Bali Moon?
Yeah, Bali Blue Moon.
Yep. So I think that's Tucker's favorite. So you get these
Hmm.
different kinds, the Chisholm Trail and all of that. If
Hmm.
you um, if you want to really try to taste it, is it best to just go straight black coffee, nothing in it, or does
That's
sugar
what I would
enhance
do.
those flavors?
I don't know that sugar would. It may not hurt it if you don't put a whole lot in. You
Right.
know, it may sweeten it a little bit. I don't know. We try really hard the coffees that we sell that they don't turn out bitter. Now I suppose that could be bitter depending on how a person it brews their coffee, but we try
Right.
not to have it where it will be a bitter taste. So hopefully when you taste it, you do taste a good coffee taste.
Right. I will say that everybody that I've seen that drinks your coffee has said that very thing. It is not bitter. Um,
Mm,
and for me, I'm not a huge coffee drinker, so I'm not. I don't really like that bitter flavor, and so
yeah,
you get you get around people who really enjoy and try a bunch of different kinds of coffee, and everybody's told me that yours has been very smooth and not bitter whatsoever. So that
good.
was pretty cool to hear. Um,
Yeah,
is that hard to do, or is that just from over roasting, or how does that work?
it could be over roasting. Yeah, it could be the
Right.
quality of bean that they're buying too.
Okay.
They could be buying a cheaper bean, you know, just to save some money. But
Yeah. Any you mentioned some of the flavors, the new Costa Rica. Are there any other new flavors that you guys are looking at, or maybe wanting to try?
we're constantly trying new coffee beans just to see if there's anything else out there we'd like to try. Some of our coffees don't sell as well as others. Oddly enough, more the more fruity our coffee is, probably the less we sell.
Hmm.
So I don't know if people don't like that those kinds of coffees, but sometimes we'll rotate a coffee out and we'll bring a brand new one in.
Okay.
Costa Rica is the most recent one. I don't know there's anything else waiting in the wings for us to bring in as of right now, but we're
Right.
always looking.
That's awesome. Well, if
Mm.
you are listening and you own a business and you have workers that drink coffee, I want to encourage you to go to kaffabunroastery.com. Is that correct?
Yep.
Is that the best way to get a hold of you guys, or is it through Facebook? What's the best way you prefer to get hold of you?
Either way, Facebook, Instagram. You can go to our website
Okay.
kaffabunroastery.com. Yep.
I will. Let me see if I can get this graphic pulled up on here. I don't know if it'll pull up for the YouTube section, but so if if you own a business and you have workers that are out, especially as we're going into winter, people want coffee. They're going to drink coffee. Consider Kaffa Bunn. I know some people out there that listen who have quite large businesses, and they're very interested in and giving that as a perk to their people. So if that's you, please reach out. I think it'd be awesome. They're great people. They're great suppliers. I'm glad you've been able to kind of meet Brother Spivey here, and I'm thankful that you came on and kind of gave us your time. I appreciate it.
Yep. My pleasure for sure.
It was awesome. This is a great family. We appreciate them. They were a blessing to us, myself, Tucker, and Justin as we went through school. and I'm thankful that now there's a friendship here, more than just the faculty connection that we had. So
Yeah.
I found out this last week you're an avid pencil collector, so my eyes are peeled
Yes.
for pencils,
Uh,
and I'll be looking
thank
for
you.
some unique pencils, and we'll add them to the collection. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah,
But
that'd be
again,
fun.
thank you for being on, and tell your family we said thanks, and hopefully we'll get some business coming your way.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
All right, and then I wanted to say too, don't forget the promo code if you spend $30 or more. Use the promo code BIZ BIZA the number 2 EZ, and you'll get free shipping on any orders over $30. So
Yep.
again, thank you for your time, and we'll be in touch. Thanks for sponsoring us, and we'll have to
Yes,
have
sir.
you all back on and maybe get the whole family on. That'd be fun.
Yeah, that would be fun.
All right, well, thank you for your time again. Have a great day.
Thank you, you too.